whoever sent me, and I assume that is Allison. Yeah, thank you. What is OpenClaw then? Can you type? I know you're giving blood. Can you tell us what OpenClaw is? I don't think I heard of that specific AI platform. There's just so many of them now. It's almost impossible to keep track. Automated AI agent. All right, we're gonna have to talk offline later so you can educate me. All right, as always, take notes of the call. Take a picture, like a screenshot every so often. Go ahead and share it to Instagram or social media. Tag Masada Coaching in it. Help us grow. And as I always say, not only that, is share something you learned during this call. The idea is to use this as a platform to reach out to others. The more value we add, the better. What does Tyler say? When you want to make a true change, you have 48 hours to apply the new thing you have learned. You're primed to encode it. Oh, yeah. Where did I just hear that? Yeah, you told me that. All right. My wife teaches me everything I know. All right. This month's reading, multipliers. So this was tomorrow's the last day. Anybody read it? I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed the book. It's actually one of the books that I'm not listening to. I am reading, I'm highlighting a lot. And I bought a few hard copies, and now it's my preferred gift to leaders that um I admire. I just think it's so many nuggets in it, and certainly a lot of things that I'm gonna try to imitate more as I am moving forward in my continuous leadership development internal journey. If you haven't read it, you run a company, you run a team, highly recommend at some point you do read it. Multipliers by Elise Weissman. Classes. So you're supposed to do 10 as a bare minimum, 12 would be kind of like average by ideal, and 15 crushing it. Okay, a month of 28 days, that means that just over half the month you should have gone to the gym and take a class. Who made it? How many did you do, Ann? All right, you go on your calendar and check. 15? All right, awesome. Good job. Alex, how many did you do?
I think I only like missed one or two, I want to say.
So you were at the gym every single day this month?
Almost. Just about.
W-
Just like one or two. I got double
We
triple.
don't have classes every single gym. What are you doing on my gym when it's closed? Just
Oh,
curious.
oh, oh. Sorry, I misunderstood. I'm kind of doing this and doing this at the same time,
All right.
so
They have
I'll let me.
24/7 access technically, so they can be there every day.
Right, but notice that it says 10 classes, not just go to the gym. All right, all good. Awesome. Good job, everybody. Those who made it. Let me tell you what next month's reading and challenge is. So the reading, the Almanac of Naval, I think Naval, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Ravikant. Um, it is, Allison, did we post it already? I know I sent you the screenshot of the book cover. Okay, it will be posted today, so you guys can have the exact name of the book and the challenge. This is something you want to do every single day. If you miss a day, you catch up the next day. But you want to do 20 squats, 10 push-ups, and 1 minute plank. Super easy, 5 minutes at most. Again, the goal, like everything else, and if you guys saw my morning brief today or my daily brief, it's all about consistency in the long game. It's all about instilling um, practices and habits, right? So it's super easy. 20 squats, 10 push-ups, 1 minute plank. All right. Um, you should have no problem doing that at all. All right, upcoming events, March 13th, so 2 weeks. Movie night, Boondock Saints. We celebrate St. Patty's Day a whole week. It's since I'm married Irish, it's my new religion. So, Saints. March 17th, actual St. Patty's Day, we have a special workout like we do every year. I'll actually be in Georgia, the state this time, not the country, with Tyler, but the class is going to be covered by, or it's typically Curtis's night, so he's going to be teaching the special workout. And March 21, we have our low light tactics. Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, is that full or close to full already? I've seen a lot of registrations going in for that. Okay, if you want, we have 3 spots left. Okay, if you want to take the class and you did not sign up, you go ahead and sign up. It is filling up fast. Monthly speaker for March is to be announced, but we had a great one this past Wednesday. Obviously, it seems like a bunch of you learned a bunch of stuff from it, so I'm glad it was beneficial. As always, I keep asking if there's any specific topic that you guys want a speaker for. Let me know Okay, this attorney was because Nicole specifically said, I want to know more about the legal side of carrying a gun in Maryland. So we got an attorney to come and talk about it. You tell me the topic, we'll find a speaker. All right. There is no last week takeaway because I was not here last week. So we're just going to move straight to the topic today. And the topic today, we're going to frame it as good fences make good neighbors. All right. So it's a topic that is, it's a lesson that took me a while to learn, right? But the idea is that if we set boundaries in advance, it actually makes for better relationships. And I will say that offline, this past month, I had a few of you, probably 6 or 7 of you, call me and ask my advice on different issues, which obviously I'm always here and happy to do. But more often than not, it came to about how to manage other personalities, whether it's a team member, a family member, a colleague, a client, a vendor, right? And more often than not, it came down, are expectations set correctly or are they too vague? If they are too vague, then it just opens things to interpretation, and at that point, nobody wins. So I wanted to talk a little bit about it today because I think it's an important topic. Personally, just so you know, so for me, right, I'm currently leading or dealing with potentially a partner to run some of our operations in a different state. I am looking to invest in somebody else's company. I have 2 kids that are way out of line sometimes, and in all of those cases, setting up boundaries is what's going to keep me safe, right? So if you guys hopefully take something out of today's call. So let's start with this. The quote obviously is good fences make for good neighbors. It was quoted, for those of you that are not familiar, by Robert Frost, who was a poet. He actually won the Pulitzer Prize also 4 times. He actually read a poem at Kennedy's inauguration. So obviously someone that culturally was very well um, received and accepted, and this kind of stood the test of time, right? This comment, I'm sure you've heard it before, this sentence, and the reality is that many of us are fearing it. And I wanted to talk about that. So why do people resist boundaries, right? Why do we associate contracts, right, with expectations with distrust, right? And I want to ask you right now in your life, and you please raise your hand and I'll ask you to unmute yourself. Where in your life right now are you dealing with some blurred lines? Like you're dealing with a relationship with someone, again, it can be a personal relationship, a professional relationship, where you do not have well set expectations to where it may be creating some tensions. I'm not saying it's necessarily negative, right? But it may create some ambiguity that is not well understood by everybody involved. If you guys don't want to talk, you don't have to, but if you do have something, all right, Darnell, go ahead. Thank you for raising your hand. You know you can do it not through the chat too. You can, well, if you're on the phone, I don't know how it works. But you will have to unmute yourself in order to tell me the story. Darnell 1. There you go.
Sorry, it's taking me a while to finally unmute. It's like, where is it? Just it's been a interesting dynamic change. Kind of trying to find boundaries between my kind of life here with you guys with Masada and the expectations and desires to spend time with my wife, and she's busy and traveling and things like that. So that's been some interesting boundaries and conversations that we've been having. And so this topic is perfect in trying to find that middle ground where everybody feels happy, everybody feels satisfied, and nobody feels like they're being taken advantage of or missing out on something that they find important.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And it's funny how in personal relationships, oftentimes people, especially in a relationship with a spouse, we don't think about boundaries as a positive thing, right? But it actually does help a lot if we all understand our role and what we should or should not be doing. And I will say, you mentioned the term middle ground. I don't think there's necessarily a middle ground. We're going to talk about it. I think it is an all or some game, but there's a way of doing it in a tactful manner where you can set those boundaries and not necessarily offend the other person. And that's part of what we're going to be discussing today. So I appreciate it,
Excellent.
Darnell.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. And you raise your hand. Hold on, Alex, and raise your hand first.
There's just so many. I think for myself, I've been doing like a recalibration of who I am because I'm a people pleaser and like that's my thing I thrive on the praise of other people. So instead of always saying yes and doing, now I got to the point where I'm like resentful now. Like I resent when people use too much of me. So I have to learn new boundaries and it's been really delicate. I mean, it's from instructors coming into the school that Ernie has built relationships with to new staff members that I want to support, but I don't want to deal with their bullshit, to my daughter who um I was raised in a house where if I didn't get an A, that meant I was a loser. So I want to make sure that she knows that it's not about the grade, it's about what she learns. But then on the flip side, we're driving to school and she's studying for chemistry. It's like, yo, bro, let's get this together. So it everywhere
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate, and it's not just you. That's a funny thing. I would argue that every person on this call, myself included, if I was probing a little bit, will have the same exact issues in multiple facets of their lives, right? We just don't typically think of it in such a manner, or we feel bad about it, so we put it to the side, right? So it's not just you, it's everybody, and that's part of what we're going to talk about today. And I love the fact that you say that it's a painful process setting those boundaries, right? And that's really what we want to try to overcome. Alex, share with me something.
Okay. I'll try to be brief as possible. I'm not trying to take up all the time. Uh, for my situation, as you know, I'm a lot around the county area, and a lot of, well, I'm starting to become popular. A lot of businesses I connect with. One of the businesses in particular, uh, was asking for some assistance, and pretty much it's just assistance with basic technology. And I know from my past, because I failed a whole bunch, I can say no. That's not a problem. But the problem is trying to say no tactfully without, doing harm to your relationship. Because obviously, that's not something I want to do. And so far, all I've told him say, hey, I just don't have the time right now. In reality, I said that there's truth to what I say, because I already know where my priorities at. I know what, I want to align my action with my goals as best I can. And I try to make sure that the majority, if not all my energy goes towards my goals. But, it's a fine line I think I'm dancing, and it's tough to say, how do I say no, but
Yeah.
without trying to upset someone.
Yeah, no, I love it. I appreciate that, Alex. And I'll tell you the easiest way, probably, and again, we're going to discuss this, is
Mhm.
setting a contract in advance. Is setting up what are your expectations, what are you expecting to get in return. And if you're doing it as a favor, that's fine. But this is what you're getting as a favor. And really being detailed about it. Now, when them
Mhm.
sign it and you sign it, and that way you
Mhm.
don't have to say no. The contract does it for you, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
again, so that's what we're going to be discussing. And that is the fence, right? So
Mhm.
that's why the comment, good fences make for good neighbors. If you set those expectations in advance, there is no need to later down the road feel bad about it or have to say no to something. Perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you, Alex.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, so let's frame it. Okay. Weak leaders avoid fences oftentimes, right? Because they want to be liked. We've all seen those leaders that they want to be your buddy, you want to be a friend, and they don't put fences. Stronger leaders, on the other hand, right, typically build fences because they want relationships to last. It's a lesson that it took me a while to learn, right? But I certainly was one of those that when I started my leadership kind of, I guess, trip or journey, right? I wanted everybody to like me and do things because they felt that they can come to me all the times and so forth. But the reality that ended up backfiring. And really, what I found out is the better I set expectations, right, the less ambiguity, the more work was done, and relationships actually lasted longer, right? I will say as an example, I know you guys know this because I mentioned in the past, we don't do staff evaluation in the traditional sense. My staff evaluates me. So I send them an evaluation that they have to return to it. They don't have to if they want to. Um, and they give me, they criticize me. And one of the things that Allison told me, Allison, I hope you don't mind me sharing, is I'm not sure what you want me to do. I am doing so much stuff. I don't know what you want me to focus on, what takes priority, what you want me to do. And she was 100% correct. And that was my fault for not setting proper understandings. So we sat together and we tallied all the things she does and how much time she spends on it and what is more important to the company, what's more important to her. And we came up with somewhat of a prioritized list. I will say that we probably deviate from it pretty often just because Allison being Allison, and much like Anne and Tyler, she finds it hard to say no. And when I ask her to do something, she'll go ahead and do it. But I'm trying to be more cognizant, and I think that as a result, and Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, provided her at least the comfort of feeling. I like how Tyler gets on the call with sunglasses on because that's important. But Allison, in exchange, should feel more comfortable coming to me, hey, BK, this is not something that was on the list of stuff I need to do. And if I don't have the time or can't do it or don't want to do it, she should feel more comfortable in doing so and telling me. Allison, am I correct in that assumption? More or less. All right. Perfect. All right. Boundaries are not emotional walls, right? They are structural clarity. Okay. So I'm not trying to lock people out. I'm trying to create some clarity in our relationship so we're on the same page. So here are some core principles. Boundaries should do three things: clarify expectations, reduce resentment, and protect relationships from decay. Okay, so if they accomplish all those three things, then you have proper boundaries, right? If some of those are missing, then something is lacking. We didn't set those boundaries correctly. But in the long term, right, they clarify expectations, they reduce resentment, and they protect relationships. Yes, Dennis, I see you raising your hand. I just saw you raise your hand 4 minutes
Yeah,
ago.
no, that was earlier. Let's go
Sorry.
on. But yeah, that's fine. Let's conduct that.
Okay, I apologize. I didn't say it before.
That's all good.
All right. So without boundaries, right, what fills the gap is assumptions. And we all know what we do when we assume, right? Emotions replace logic. Okay. So to Anne's point earlier, we try to please people. We let our emotional feelings take over and we don't use logic the way we should. And resentments build silently, right? How many of you stayed in jobs in the past completely hating your boss but never said anything just because, you were resenting them, but you didn't feel comfortable and there wasn't really anything for you to fall back on, right? So assumptions fill a gap, emotions replace logic, and resentment builds silently. With boundaries, everybody knows the rules. Everybody goes towards performance, not confusion. Okay. And trust increases because predictability increases. If I can predict what Tyler's going to be doing on a different day, I can trust her to do it and I don't have to check on her, which minimizes my need to micromanage, right? Which ultimately gives her more creativity and more freedom, which in turn, right, everybody fosters. But it's all assuming that those boundaries, expectations were set in advance. So, when expectations are unclear, again, people either overstep or underperform, and both of those create friction. And those are the things we're trying to avoid. So I'm going to break it now into several sections: how to deal with staff, how to deal with vendors, how to deal with your family, right? So each one of them. So you're going to see a very similar theme, although they all have their little nuances, right? So with staff and your team, so those of you that lead teams, and again, remember, it doesn't have to be all work or military. It can be your family, it can be a team, although we're going to talk about family separately. In growing organization, especially those that are mission driven, loyalty can blur some lines, right? So the common mistake is saying things like they know what I want or we're like family, right? Which is something I used to say a lot on Masada, right? I don't want to micromanage, another one that I said, and avoiding hard conversation early. The result is that all that the scope of what they're doing creeps up. Authority is confused, and we have emotional reaction to correct things, right? Rather than being about it systematic and catching it early. Okay, we end up, okay, she got out of the end, and we're gonna overreact to overcorrect, and that's really what we're trying to avoid. So how do we put fences for that? Clear boundaries with staff include defining roles and decision authority. Written expectations. I will say I do not have written agreements with my staff. I do try to sit and talk to them and make it at least verbally understood. Clear reporting structure. Who reports to who? Okay, and on what topics? Performance metrics. How do we measure that you're doing what you're supposed to do? I don't tell Tyler and Allison, what to do or how to do it. I do tell them this is my expectation. This is from a business, terminology, KPI, key performance indicator. You reach these numbers, I know you're doing what you're supposed to do. I don't care how you accomplish it, right? But clear performance metric, and there should be a feedback cadence. Okay. How often do you have the opportunity to give guidance? And again, I'm using the term guidance, okay, to your staff. So I meet with Tyler and Allison weekly. I give them my kind of opinion on a few things. I listen to their opinion, and we move on. When defenses are clear, the staff should feel safer, okay, more comfortable in doing what they need to do. They know where they stand, okay, and they operate independently without guessing. They don't have to guess what I want, right? They know what I want, okay, and now they're free to do whatever they want to do to accomplish that. Freedom inside a structure creates confidence, and chaos disguised as flexibility creates anxiety. All right. Do we understand that? If you pretend to be flexible, right? But really it's just a chaotic environment. I'm sure you've been through some organizations or team where it looks like nobody knows what's going on, right? And everybody's like, oh, we're just being flexible. We're letting our people do what they need to do and whatever, right? But there is no true oversight. That just creates anxiety. Now I do want to make an important distinction. I actually bolded it in my papers here. There is a distinction between allowing staff creative freedom and loose fences. Okay, so expectations can still be set while allowing staff the freedom to act independently. Okay, it's not that I tell Allison and Tyler, you guys do whatever you want with the gym. I don't care. You guys, I don't want to micro. That's a loose fence. That's me not giving them any guidance or any kind of framework, right? Okay, I can still allow them to do what they need to do. That app that you guys all mentioned at the beginning of the call, that is their project. Okay, they went, they researched, they implemented, they did everything. And even though I did not agree on some different elements, and one time I actually caught myself saying something, and then I sent an email and apologized for saying something because they're doing a phenomenal job, right? But they know what the expectation is. What's the end result that I'm looking for? And you know what that does for me as a leader? It frees me up to not deal with that. I can now concentrate on other things that are more important from a big strategic standpoint because I trust Allison and Tyler to do what they need to do. They know my expectations and what I'm looking to accomplish. All right, next one. Clients. You all have clients. And how many of you have clients come and ask for favors, or clients ask for some leeway, or clients ask for you to do something that is not really what you want to do? Tyler, is that a question? Or you're just raising your hand because that happened to you? You have a question? I can read lips, baby. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, it wasn't necessarily a question, but just going off of what you were just speaking about and the apology and the awareness that you had, but mentioning that it takes stuff off of your plate. You've also done the work in yourself to be able to let that go and not feel like you need to have control over it. Whereas I know before you would say sometimes it's really hard because you want to have your hand in kind of everything. You have the experience over us, you've been there, you've done that. So you said, I remember you telling us that ultimately you had to just kind of make that choice to let go of the control of the little things because it really does free you up and then you don't have to worry about stuff like that. So
Well, I appreciate that, but really what made it a lot easier is setting up those fences, is understanding, sitting with you and Allison and saying, these are my expectations, these are the standards, right? I'm not compromising on those. I just don't have to do it myself now. Allison and you do it, right?
Right. No, exactly.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so let's talk about clients. Okay, where do things break down, right? When people ask things like, "Can you add this?" Right, they're starting to creep all these other things into the expectations that weren't there, right? The budget confusion. Okay, when they start asking you about money, right? Unrealistic expectations. Okay, when people come to me and say, "Hey, BK, we want 7 class a day, and we want, showers, and I don't know, all kind of stuff," which I understand why they want it, but some of it is unrealistic, right? And there's an emotional pressure to over deliver. So how do we set fences with clients, right? A written scope of work. I'll tell you that it was a game changer for me working with MedStar, which is the largest healthcare system in Maryland. When we started working with them in 2018, it was very loose. The last few years, it became very detailed and for a reason. I don't know if well, you guys would not know, but this past year they started adding things that they wanted. They're so happy with our services that they're like, okay, you know what? Instead of just training our nurses, we'd like you to also do security training. We also want home health training. We also want. They just kept adding things, which I love because that is just more opportunity for me and my team and so forth. But on the flip side, it wasn't part of what we agreed, and it started putting tension and pressure on us. So we went back and we redefined the scope of work. We redefined the budget that goes with it. Okay, prioritizing thing, and now everybody's on the same page. So defense recline, right? With written scope of work, we said define deliverables. What are you going to deliver? Define pricing. So this goes for you, Alex. You have a client. What are you delivering and pricing? If it's free, then that's fine. You put out, you're going to get A, B, and C, and I'm not going to charge you for it. And this is how many hours a week I'm willing to commit for your projects, right? Clear communication timelines. You're going to get this done by so and so date. Okay, and define outcomes. Okay, no vague promises. No, I'm just going to make your IT more proficient. Is this is what you're going to get. Okay, you're going to get this product or this service, and this is what's going to do for you. Be very specific. All right. When you set those boundaries, people respect you more. First of all, a lot of us think they're going to respect us less. The truth is, they respect us more because they know the value and exactly what they're going to get. Okay. The pricing is respected more. Your time is protected. If you say, I am going to give you 2 hours a week because I'm doing this pro bono, then they cannot come back later, especially once they sign it and say, hey, Alex, can you do another 2 hours for us? So, no, I have other commitments. You guys agreed to the 2 hour. You want to do more? That's fine. We got to change this fence, this agreement, and I'll start charging you for the additional 2 hours, right? Okay. And you prevent burnout. That was a big thing for me and MedStar. They asked for all these things, and I wanted to please them because they're a huge contract and I wanted to keep them on my good side. But actually, when I went and said, this is not sustainable the way you're asking me to do it, we need to redefine it, it actually worked a lot better. Okay. Clients do not respect what you don't protect. This is probably a key term that you should take out of today's calls. Your clients will not gonna respect what you cannot protect for yourself. If you don't think it's important, they will definitely not think it's important. All right. If you don't enforce your fence, they assume there isn't one. Right. And we all see we all done it. Okay. We were all that bad guy in a sense, right? Taking advantage of another vendor for one thing or another. So, if we know what the fence is, there's no assumptions. And enforcing boundaries does not mean that you're being rigid. It means that you're being consistent. All right. So we got to change a little bit terminology, change a little bit the emotional way we look at it, and that changes everything. All right. First section, vendors and partners. Okay. This is a big one for me. As I said, I am looking into currently partnering with another organization to expand our services in a different state. And I'm looking to investing, meaning being partners in a different venture. And, if I don't set proper fences, proper boundaries, you guys can imagine the amount of question marks that may arise in the future and the gray area that may lead you to. Okay. So the typical mistakes: no clear service level agreement, no deadlines, no defined accountability. So if you go into a partnership, who does what, who's responsible to what, right? Paying before deliverables are met, and avoiding conflict because we need them. Okay. How many of you in the past did not want to get rid of a partner or a vendor because we need them, right? First of all, you don't need them. There's plenty of other people that do the same exact thing, right? So just to keep that, but that can be avoided again if the fence is set up correctly. So how do we do a fence? Written agreements, payment schedule tied to milestones. So that's a big one for me with my investment. This is how much I'm putting in. This is what I'm expecting to get in return on this schedule with this interest, right? Clear communication cadence. How often we're gonna touch base, okay? And defined escalation path when things stall. Like things sometimes are not gonna go according to plan. How do we manage that, right? So strong fences actually prevent uncomfortable relationship repair things later, right? And that's a relationship repair is things were already going south and now I'm trying to save that, right? This fence prevents me from getting there to begin with. Okay, I can already have those boundaries set. Vendors do respect clarity. I found that, working with some of our vendors. And if you tolerate slippage, right, then you're gonna reap the consequences, right? So if you set those fences, it's easy to correct all those early, right? If you see something getting out of line. All right, I believe this is the last section. Family, yeah. So family and personal life. All right, boundaries at home. How many of you? Anne mentioned her daughter. I mentioned my kids, my boys, right? Um, but it's not just that. It's also with a significant other. So Darnell mentioned, some stress between working with Masada and his other obligations and life at home. So first of all, work hours. When do you work? When do you not work? Right? Okay. Device discipline. This is big. Tyler's been on my case about it with our kids. When our kids come to us and they ask for our attention, put the device aside. There's no devices during meals, right? So it's you watch everybody at the restaurant nowadays. I mean, I sit at a restaurant, I like looking at people. They don't even communicate and converse with each other. Everybody's in their own screen, right? It is stupid. All right. Financial expectations. Finance is one of the things that create the most amount of stress in our relationship, but we have to understand the expectations. Okay, what are we willing to spend? What are we trying to save towards? Are we gonna do it? Talk to each other about it. Okay, personal time and parenting standards, right? So without fences, work bleeds into everything, especially those of you that are entrepreneurs and working for themselves. Okay, especially if you work with your significant other. All right. Anne can relate, Tyler can relate, right? Dan can relate now. So if you do not put those boundaries, it's an issue. And I make it an effort. It's hard when your work partner is also your life partner, because your work is your life and everything gets commingled, but you have to be cognizant about it. Okay. You don't want your spouses feeling secondary. That's the honest truth. And kids have to get consistent standard. This is especially important for those of you that co-parent with another, an ex-spouse, right? So you have to be on the same standards. Me and my ex-wife just had a conversation recently because the kids, again, they're having some issues. And how can I support you? This is what I'm doing at my house. This is what you're doing at your house. How can we mimic that and be all on the same page, right? So the boundaries that don't create emotional safety, predictability, and peace, right? Okay, so this is not rigidity. It is structure that supports love. Okay, Tyler knows where I stand. The kids know where I stand, what the expectations are, and it actually provides a structure for a family that is easier to fall back on. So, Darnell, maybe it's time to have the conversation with your wife and say, okay, these are the times about Masada. Is this good with you? If it's not, what would be good with you? And finding those predefined boundaries so we can all, we is not the right term because I have nothing to do with your wife, Darnell, I promise. But you and your wife can figure out what is comfortable to her, and you still get what you want to get out of it. So this is a psychological reality, right? Humans do thrive, and there's a lot of research to support it, on defined environments. Okay, so think about military structure, think about athletic rules, think about business contracts, think about training protocols, right? Okay, rules are there for a reason because people thrive and do better at them. Okay, giving people a frame of work makes it easier for us. Okay, structure reduces anxiety because it reduces ambiguity. Okay, and this is probably a key thing for us to remember. Okay, I will argue, Darnell, if you don't mind, the fact that your wife may be a little bit pissy at time is because she does not understand, okay, what exactly, how many times a week you're going to go, what is your end goal, right? She doesn't know necessarily what's involved in becoming an instructor, stuff like that. So, having those conversations removes a lot of the anxiety and ambiguity. Okay. Thank you, Darnell, for reaffirming. So ambiguity is where resentment grows, and that's really what we're trying to avoid. Boundaries are not about control, they are about clarity. So if we shift the way we think about it, that is the key. It's not about me trying to exert control on other people. It's about creating a more clear path and understanding of what are the expectations from both parties. All right. So here's a little exercise for you. We're going to take a few minutes. If you guys are not driving or busy doing something else, I want you to write down a few things. One relationship where resentment is slowly building. It can be professional or personal. All right. Go ahead and write one relationship where resentment is slowly building. Can be a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, hopefully not all at the same time, right? It can be a business partner. It can be a client, a vendor, your neighbor. By the way, there's a reason there are fences between houses. I'll give you another 30 seconds or so to write something down, or at the very least think about it. It's funny how a couple of you just messaged me that you have problem picking one. So pick one. It doesn't matter. But if you wrote one down, think about what boundary is currently missing. Okay, or what expectation has never been explicitly stated. It's something that you were trying to get out of that relationship with that individual, but you were not clear about it. Or maybe they're doing something that you don't want them to do. And then the last is, as a follow-up, what conversation needs to happen then? And by the way, sometimes it's not having the conversation, it's about cutting a relationship, right? Okay, going to the conversation I had with a few of you offline over the last few weeks. Some things are just not good for you. Toxicity is toxicity, and there's nothing you can do about it. So for those of you that figure out where resentment is slowly building, what boundary is missing, what expectation has never been explicitly stated, and what conversation needs to happen, now I want you to ask yourself, are you avoiding the fence because you want peace or because you're avoiding discomfort? The answer typically is avoiding discomfort, right? Okay. Avoiding those boundaries may create temporary comfort, but sure as hell will create long-term tension. Okay. Which one do we want to choose? Okay. Setting boundaries create temporary tension, long-term peace. Out of those conversations. All right. Almost done, guys. So just a few takeaways if you want to write these down. Clarity is being kind to the other person. All right. So kindness. Can I repeat the last one? The last statement? Setting boundaries create temporary tension and long-term peace. Was that a one, Darnell? Sure thing. All right. So some takeaways. Clarity does mean being kind. Okay. Kindness. Contracts protect relationships. Tyler, are you raising hand to us or to your daughter? Got it. Okay. Contracts protect relationships. Enforcing boundaries build respect, and strong leaders build fences early. Again, something that took me a while to learn, but now every relationship I go into, professional or personal, setting boundaries as soon as I can really makes everybody more comfortable. Don't build fences because you distrust people. You build fences so you don't have to distrust them. And that is the key takeaway. All right, guys, that is what I have for you. This is where I open it for you guys for any Q&A, any questions about anything we discussed today, or some stuff that we didn't. Go ahead, Ann.
I think one thing that I'm learning, because I'm stepping into relationships that already existed in a way that didn't have any boundaries, and now I'd like to set some boundaries just based on the business side of things. Is that I try to do it really fast instead of taking my time and just being like, I know you want to do this seminar a month from now, but there are things that I need before we can accurately do it. So if you don't bring these to me, like this is the deadline, I'll need this first. And then from there, so slowing down, which is so weird for me. Cause like you said, it resonates with me. You're like, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. So I'm like, solve. And sometimes it's not my solution. It's not my problem to fix.
Yeah.
Almost. So it's like that's my boundary. Like, this is on you now. And then when you get to it, then we can talk about it later instead of having to do it all right away.
Yeah, and something for you, because I know some of the issues you've been dealing with is having maybe a preset, I don't want to say contract, but a checklist of what is the expectation from any instructor. I know you're dealing with a specific event right now, but there's many guest instructors you bring, myself included, for Craft Camp. Okay, BK, this is what I expect from you, right? This is what we will provide. All right. And this is the timeline in which I want it done. And then you create a new culture by doing that. And it may be a little tricky at the beginning because people, to your point, have worked with you or with Ernie for a long while. Okay. But I don't think anybody's going to disrespect that. I think if you came to me and said, BK, we're trying to do craft camp smarter, better, this is how we're going to go from now on, I'll be like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's do it. Right. I think that if a person disses you for coming out now with a better process or an agreement, a contract, a boundary, a fence, right? Then they probably shouldn't have been there to begin with. Tyler? Sorry, Ann. Didn't mean to cut you short. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ann. Finish up.
It's a fear that I face that I'm gonna mess up a friendship or a relationship that Ernie cultivated.
I don't think you will, though.
That's
I
all.
honestly don't think you will. And if that taints that relationship, was
Mhm.
that person really looking for your best, to your benefit? I mean, if that person gets upset over it, then they were selfish, self-serving individuals to begin with because they didn't care about what you need to get out of it. So if you come up with that and that is the result, which I sincerely don't think that's going to happen because I know the type of relationship you guys have, and I know how much that other individual does respect you and Ernie. And I think it's just going to be a new way of doing it. That's all.
Mhm.
Be tactful about it, but I wouldn't fear the conversation because I know it makes you feel. I mean, it's pretty obvious just from this conversation, but even the conversation we had prior, that is not a way for you to keep managing your business in the long term. What are you going to do next time and the time after that and with other instructors, right?
Mhm.
So again, that short-term discomfort certainly better than living in that resentment for the remaining of the days.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Tyler, sorry.
No, that's okay. I was literally going to say what you said, coming off of that, because I was trying to look at it from a perspective. And if I was like on the receiving end of the feedback, say I was the one that you needed to speak to, or to put in, I guess if BK's having me teach a seminar next month that historically, was him, but he's like, you want to teach it, you can teach it, that's fine. But if he turned around and was like, no, I need to set expectations. I don't want her to just willy nilly teach whatever she wants. These are my clear guidelines. I would appreciate it as soon as possible, just so that I have the time to kind of sit with it and make sure that I can do right by you, by him. And I think it's going into, you say making that like fast change and slowing it down for long-term stuff. But I think the stuff that needs to happen right away, it's not in how fast you say it, but how it's presented. And I think you do an amazing job at that. And like he said, if people are not willing to take your boundary or your setup, like they just weren't doing things for the right reason anyway, and you just cut that loss. Like I experienced that myself with some friends um recently, and it really opened my eyes, and it's changed a lot because I'm the same way as you, people pleaser, yes, 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 even when the body's screaming no, and really leaning into that and listening. So I think all of that, and it's really hard to do, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And yeah, even sitting here having this conversation, like trying to think about boundaries that I haven't set, and maybe my husband can help me after this call if I'm missing something. But like I feel so much more confident in doing that now, and it's taken a lot, but like you said, you got to sit through the shit and like feel that discomfort. But once you kind of get through it, it just gets easier every time. But yeah, I think you'll be awesome, and it'll just make your life so much easier. And if they don't like it, then that's on them, not on you. That's
Cool.
what.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yes.
I like when you get so emotional and fired up.
Always.
All right, anybody else? Questions, comments? Yes, Alex.
So now I think about it, when you tell me about setting up boundaries and everything, I think because really right now just kind of going out and marketing business, such as yours, for example, I've done in the past, and I'll be happy to do it for you again, no problem. And to be honest, it aligns with one of my goals I'm doing now. Just so you know, my goal is to get myself out there in the community, specifically Anne Arundel County. And what I do is when I find good business such as yours, I want to highlight those things to the community and show that, hey, I know the world has some issues. I get it, but at the same time, it's not all bad either.
Mhm.
On the flip side, and what I try, and the part of my goal is getting the community there and showing the heart of the community, such as your business and others. But getting back to what I was saying earlier about that one business that was like, hey, they want me to come and do the IT stuff. I think what I just got to do is just give them a ring and just say, hey, listen, these are my goals right now. And I just don't have any other time to dedicate time to. I hate to break it to you. It's a hard thing to say, but from my point of view, at least, it's a hard thing to say, but I'd rather be truthful and honest and be difficult up front than now as I think about it, if I let this fester longer, it's going to get worse. And
Yeah.
she's probably going to call me even more.
I will say, Alex, so first of all, I appreciate you highlighting Masada from time to time. And again, there's a difference between setting fences and so forth and just trying to do the right thing or not the right thing, the nice thing because you're a nice person, right? I mean, I highlight other companies and other people that I trust. And that's just being a human being, right?
Yeah,
One of the
yeah.
hardest lessons to learn is to be able to say no, right? And there's one of my coaches, right, Dan Martell, has a good talk about it, where he says when you're a new entrepreneur, you say yes, yes, yes to everything because you want to grow your business and you want to expand it. And you know you made it to a successful business when you start saying no to people because now your time is more valuable and you need to prioritize. And that is a good problem to have, right? And I don't think anybody, I mean, I've said no to a few members in the past if they don't fit our culture. I said no to other businesses that wanted our consulting services if I can't or I don't think I'm going to give them the right service. And it's I think it actually increases respect. If I came to you and say, "Hey, Alex, I appreciate you wanting to hire me. I don't have the capability right now to give you the service that you deserve," then I prefer to not do it, and I'd be more than happy to
Oh,
recommend
yeah, yeah, yeah.
somebody else, right?
Gotcha.
And not only have you done so tactfully to say no, you left the door open that in the future, if you do have the time and you do want to do it, I can reach out back to Alex and say, "Hey, Alex, at the time of day enough, the time to give you what you needed. I'm a little more free now. I hope you're happy with the person I recommended, but if you're not, would love to have another stab at it." So you leave that door open as well. So there's a way of doing it, but it all comes
Oh,
down to setting those boundaries.
gotcha. Gotcha. I
Cool.
appreciate this call.
Thank you, Alex.
No problem.
Anybody else? All right, guys. So you guys have, oh yeah, Tyler. Sorry.
Sorry, no, I'm trying not to say too much, but I get excited about this topic because it's something that I feel I've progressed myself on a lot, so I feel more passionate about it. But looking at it from a selfish standpoint, when you're in a business, taking better care of yourself, right? We've talked so many times about putting on your own oxygen mask and then being able to help others and in relationships at home, etc. Doing stuff like that and setting the boundary and putting that into practice and saying no, it just takes this pressure off. Even if there's that discomfort, but as soon as you make that decision and you make that choice and you just have grit behind it, it's not like a loose, I think I'll do that. Like you just no. This is what my gut's telling me. I'm going with it. I do feel bad about it, but this is my decision. Once you make that decision, your body starts to process that healing part of feeling guilty faster. If you keep yourself in limbo and kind of don't really set a clear one, it's that murky boundary, it's that squeeze, it's not, you're still fighting what your body, is trying to tell you or what you really want to do. So I
Yeah.
think, you do yourself a disservice if you keep yourself in limbo, in a limbo boundary or a murky boundary, just do it, feel bad about it, and then let it go. So
And
I've felt that too. Sorry.
no, I appreciate that. And I would say the easiest example that I think everybody can relate to. Everybody here went through a breakup where you broke up with somebody, a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, right? And it's not fun. I don't care if you were in the worst relationship ever. It is not fun breaking up with somebody else. It is not an easy process. But the second you do, it is so fucking liberating, right? So that is the easiest analogy that I can give you, all right? Now we're not talking about breaking relationships today and so forth. We're talking about how could we have avoided getting to that point to begin with if we set boundaries and expectations, right? You do A, B, and C. I'll do D, E, and F. Okay, we touch base on such and such intervals. We're gonna make sure we support each other on so and so, and that is that we avoid getting to the point where we have to break up with them to begin with, right? And that is really the takeaway, right? I appreciate everybody joining in today. Reminding everybody the new challenge goes into effect in 2 days. So Sunday, 20 squats, 10 push-ups, 1-minute plank every single day. You miss a day, that means 40 squats, 20 push-ups and 2-minute plank the next day. You miss more than 2 days, you're pretty much fucked. Unless you're Anne, because she's gonna wait for the last 2 days and cram it all into the one day, because that's what she does. All right. Love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys in classes, hopefully.